Welcome to Barbara's Bulletin, the podcast where we bring you the most pressing and thought-provoking stories from around the world. I'm your host, Barbara, and I'm glad you're joining us today. We're starting off with a complex and sensitive topic that has been making headlines in recent months. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has been a long-standing issue, with both sides experiencing violence, displacement, and hardship. Today, we're focusing on the story of Marwan Barghouti, a Palestinian prisoner who has been held by Israel for over 2 decades. Barghouti, 66, is a well-known figure in Palestinian politics, having been a key player in the Second Intifada, a period of violence and unrest that began in the early 2000s. He was convicted by an Israeli court in 2002 for his role in planning attacks on civilians and has been serving 5 consecutive life sentences ever since. Recently, a video surfaced showing Israel's far-right national security minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir, berating Barghouti in his prison cell. The video has sparked outrage and concern among Palestinians and human rights groups, who argue that it highlights the harsh treatment of Palestinian prisoners by Israeli authorities. According to reports, the number of Palestinian detainees held by Israel has roughly doubled since the deadly attack by Hamas on October 7, 2023. There are currently around 10,700 Palestinians in Israeli custody, including several thousand being held without trial or charge. This has raised concerns about the welfare and human rights of these prisoners, as well as the impact on the broader conflict. It's worth noting that Barghouti is a unifying figure for many Palestinians, and his imprisonment is widely viewed as politically motivated. His case has been taken up by human rights groups and international organizations who are calling for his release and an end to the Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories. As we delve into this complex issue, it's essential to approach it with nuance and balance. We'll be exploring different perspectives and examining the historical context that has led to this point. We'll also be discussing the potential implications of this story on the broader Middle East peace process. That's all for now. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. We're continuing our coverage of current events, and now we turn our attention to a tragic incident that occurred in Antrim, Northern Ireland. A man in his 50s has died, and a woman in her 40s was taken to hospital after being struck by a car in a hit-and-run collision. According to Detective Chief Inspector O'Lone, the incident happened on Friday night in the Ballyeaston Road area of Ballyclare. The victims were pedestrians who were struck by a car that failed to stop at the scene. The male victim sadly died as a result of his injuries, while the female victim's injuries are not believed to be life-threatening. One male has been arrested in connection with the incident and remains in police custody. The police are appealing for witnesses to come forward with any information they may have about the collision. If you have any details, please contact the authorities using case reference number 1771 15U08225. This is a devastating reminder of the importance of road safety and the need for all drivers to exercise caution and responsibility when behind the wheel. Our thoughts are with the families and loved ones of those affected by this tragedy. In another incident in Northern Ireland, arsonists have been targeting 5G masts, putting themselves and the public at serious risk. A recent attack occurred in the Beachmount Avenue area of Belfast, where a 5G tower was set alight. This is part of a series of similar incidents that have taken place in the region. Detective Inspector Wilson has warned that lighting fires to electrical equipment is extremely reckless and poses a significant threat to both the perpetrators and members of the public. The police are treating this as arson and are urging anyone with information or CCTV footage to come forward, quoting reference 37-1608-25. These incidents highlight the need for vigilance and responsible behavior in our communities. We must all work together to prevent such senseless acts of vandalism and ensure that our public spaces remain safe for everyone. Stay tuned for our final story of the day, right here on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin, As we wrap up today's show, I want to bring to your attention a developing story that has significant implications for global security and human rights. A recent data breach has exposed the personal information of thousands of Afghans who have settled in the UK, as well as British troops and civil servants. According to reports from reputable sources, including the BBC and ABC World News, the breach occurred when a firm linked to the UK's Ministry of Defence suffered a data security incident, resulting in unauthorized access to company emails. It's estimated that around 3,700 individuals may have been affected, including Afghans who were brought to the UK under the Afghan Relocations and Assistance Policy, or ARAP. This policy was established to provide refuge to Afghans who worked with Western forces as fixers, translators, and in other roles before the Taliban regained power. However, this data breach has put their lives at risk, as well as those of British troops and civil servants who may have been compromised. I want to emphasize that this is not an isolated incident. In 2022, a similar data breach occurred when an official released the details of over 18,000 individuals in error. This highlights the need for greater vigilance and accountability in protecting sensitive information, particularly when it comes to the lives of those who have risked everything to support Western forces. As we consider this story, it's essential to remember the human cost of such breaches. The son of a senior Afghan commander who worked with British forces recently spoke to the BBC, pleading for help to avoid his family's murder by the Taliban. Unfortunately, despite these warnings, the commander was deported back to Afghanistan. Former UK National Security Advisor Sir Mark Lyle Grant has called these breaches deeply embarrassing for the British government, emphasizing that while checks for relocation are necessary, it falls to the government to honor its commitments to those who have risked their lives to support Western forces. As we reflect on this story, I want to encourage our listeners to consider the broader implications of data security and the responsibility that comes with protecting sensitive information. It's crucial that governments and organizations prioritize the safety and well-being of individuals who have put their trust in them. That's all for today's Barbara's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay engaged. That's all for today's Barbara's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay engaged.